I give the call to the honourable member for Lyne.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. She was there for me, there for us. She always had our back. She was never backward in fighting for us. She made a difference much larger than one single voice, one single person could hope to achieve. She put service before self. I know that standing here today, you may find it odd that I speak of myself in the past tense, to speak of legacy as the member for Lyne and as a parliamentarian. But I wish to start my first speech as I wish to end my time in this place. To do so represents my mission and my compact with the people of the Lyne electorate. To work hard, listen, care and deliver for my constituents and the people of Australia. It's a simple motivator, but it's deeply rooted. The legacy of a working-class family, the legacy of my upbringing, grandparents who were in domestic service, parents whose retail small business, Ron's Market Truck, served people at markets across Western Sydney, in Fairfield, Mount Druitt, Penrith, Menangle and then Taree for many years, spruiking off the back of a truck everything from the latest toys and towels, figurines and fireworks, items that most could not afford to buy elsewhere. "Knock a bit off, Ronnie," the crowd would call, and he did. This is where I spent my weekends as a child and where I saw the raw hard work of a 7 days a week small business operator. This raw hard work, risk-taking and sacrifice for family must never be forgotten in this place. It's why, in part, I'm here, to honour and protect them and ensure the only decisions government takes is to ensure small business thrives. Mr Speaker, I stand before you and this parliament as just an ordinary woman trying to do an extraordinary job with an extraordinary privilege for my community and for our nation. A job that stands on the shoulders of those members of parliament who too have served as members for Lyne: Gillespie, Oakeshott, Vale, Cowan, Lucock, Eggins. Each of them made significant contributions to this place and to the electorate of Lyne. I'm fortunate to have known 4 of the previous members and worked for 2 of them. Mark Vaile, a Deputy Prime Minister, delivering our free trade agreement with the United States, one that must endure, and the Pacific Highway duplication for the electorate. Dr David Gillespie, a minister, delivering over $1 billion in regional health initiatives, the father and chairman of our future civil nuclear program, and the father of the Taree University's campus, amongst many electorate achievements. I hope to serve as they did, with great honour, distinction and grace, and I thank them for their friendship, guidance and trust over the many years I have known each of them, and it's wonderful to have David and Charlotte here today. They too have seen the devastation on our communities that nature can bring. They know that Lyne is very much an electorate cemented in the courage and tenacity of Australians and of regional people. An area on the mid-north coast and Hunter regions of New South Wales, ancestral home to the Biripi, Worimi and Wonnarua peoples. We now share in the stewardship of a land long lived. An electorate stretching from the Hastings to the Hunter, covering coast and country. The electorate covers some of the earliest areas of regional settlement, places like Patterson, where my own Penfold ancestors migrated to as farm labourers in the 1830s. Settlement that continues today as tree changers and sea changers exit the big smoke to find their dream of a beach oasis or farm life. Farming, dairy, beef, oysters and timber industries remain valued economic drivers with the many family-run small businesses. This is a place that has hosted heavy industry and manufacturing business migrating from the cities, a region that still has much physical and human capital to offer. Rivers have long been a lifeblood of this area. They brought fertile soils, trade and settlement, families and livelihoods. We know the power of them, and this has helped forge the courage and tenacity to make homes and build businesses that could withstand flood and also fire. but no one could have anticipated the flood of this May, a 1 in 500-year catastrophic event off the back of months of rain, the ground saturated, and just 4 years from our last major flood. I cannot do justice to it or its full impact. To be honest, I find what occurred very difficult to talk about, to relive the days during the flood and after the waters receded, stuck at home in safety but unable to physically reach people desperate for help. The images on our screens and the screams for aid by phone, email, private message. The first chance to provide help in Coopanook, my car engine smoking through the floodwaters, but desperate to bring milk, bread and other staples to the local hall, where 60-plus people were bunkered down, isolated, many evacuated from their nearby farms. It was there that I heard of the first death in the floodwaters, only the morning after. The loss of a loved local felt painfully but quietly through the town. As the first roads opened after the waters receded, what presented was metres of mud through everything and the house-high piles of timber, round bales and other debris that littered and still linger on the landscape. The stories of survival, of having to leave people, pets and possessions behind. The bravery of modest souls in the floodwaters to save others. The look of despair, of fragility, of losing everything in people's eyes. The anger and the fear when the government support did not come. The fight that goes on for fairness, recognition, hope. Like many others, I tried to help. My hands and my heart, the only tools to turn back the tide of destruction in those early days. But my resolve was strengthened. I was where I was needed and needed to be. The physical scars are there for all to see. Riverbanks changed forever, wing and brush gone, roads and bridges destroyed, towns and commutes divided, acres of paddocks washed away, paddocks with a mirage of green, winter feed flattened, paddocks emptied of cattle or turf, empty shops that will likely never be home to a small business again, homes now emptied of the lives they once loved. But what is less visible are the mental scars. Most people have tried to pick up the pieces of their lives, got on with the clean-up, got on with the rebuild, got on with filling out the vast reams of paperwork for a few quid, got on with finding somewhere to live, got on with going back to work, got on with life. But underneath is the loss, the shock, the grief, the uncertainty, the despair, the fear, the emotional triggers of hearing cows bellowing in the night, the mere threat of rain, the question of, can I ever go home? These emotional scars are the scars that scare me the most. I'm scared of how people are coping and for the many that are not, if and when they'll ever seek support from a professional, a mate, a family member, from me. When the Prime Minister, Premier and other ministers came to Taree in the aftermath of the floods, I said to them that our area needed two things from government: information and presence. Presence in the form of boots, not suits. A long-term presence in the form of generous and easy-to-access support. The presence of mind to break the cycle of red tape that haunts the traumatised seeking help after disaster. Information from government about the process for making decisions about assistance. Information about when and how funding amounts and eligibility would be determined. And listening to what the community needed, our information to help governments make good decisions. I was deliberate in this ask, knowing that the mental toll could be moderated if people knew that support was coming, knew that governments were working to provide them with the assistance that was needed and without red tape attached, knew they cared. My greatest frustration is that this call has largely gone unheeded. The anger that has been felt amongst the community has come from the silence, the slowness and the mountain of bureaucracy, the weeks in silence in waiting for Cat D funding for primary producers, and now the additional weeks waiting on additional funding for small business, funding for the rebuilding and betterment of community infrastructure, like the Bight and Taree bridges, the weaks not having somewhere to live for themselves or their farm workers. And the bureaucracy. Too many people and businesses have been denied support, have not had enough paperwork, have not been enough of a primary producer, living in an area bureaucrats say isn't affected enough, places like Barrington, not being the right type of not-for-profit, like Taree University's campus and the Taree Aquatic Club, both unable to receive any support, yet smashed by the floodwaters. Or the farmers, desperate to stabilise river and creek banks, but wading through multiple state government agencies for approval, with no start or end point. It is unsurprising that so many local people feel it is easier to get government assistance if you're a foreigner than it is if you're an Australian. On the weekend, I spoke with a small business operator from Taree. Her premises in Pulteney Street were completely inundated. She is now in a battle with her insurer, months after and still waiting. She can't apply for any of the government assistance until she gets a decision from the insurer, with the government's application timeframe coming to an end soon. This is a strong woman who is almost broken by a process that is meant to support her. The waiting, the silence and the bureaucracy have only compounded the mental toll, compounded the feeling of being forgotten, compounded the anger and frustration in government, compounded the fear about the future. We needed governments and bureaucracy at their best. We're still waiting, we're still hoping, but we're still fighting. We needed media at its best too. I thank our local journalists and the many others from around the country who respected us to help the nation see the destruction and called them to action with donations. Please don't forget about us. We have a long, long way to go. I wish to dedicate this speech to all those impacted by the floods and to all the amazing volunteers who, after the waters receded, went from stranger to family in an instant by just turning up and saying, "Mate, how can I help?" These were not just our well-trained legends in familiar uniforms, SES, Fire and Rescue, Police, Rural Fire Service, or the many familiar local organisations like church groups, service and community organisations like Rotary and Lions, or sporting clubs like the Foster Tuncurry Hawks Junior Rugby League team, who I work with to help clean out the mud-logged silos, or members of the Wingham Tigers footy team, who I met cleaning out a shed in Primrose Street in Wingham, but also the incredibly generous, spontaneous and selfless locals and people from afar, everyday citizens doing the extraordinary for others. I acknowledge people like Josh Hack, Tim Bale and Anthony and Matt Stone for their fierce advocacy for farmers. The Stone brothers, oyster farmers on the Manning River, battled the floodwaters to save many people from their homes, yet have had to battle bureaucracy for Cat D assistance, despite losing almost all their oyster stock, their retail business inundated and shut down for months. I also acknowledge Matthew Fawcett, who is here today, President of the Taree Chamber of Commerce, for his leadership for local small businesses and the many others that have joined him in the cause. Not only do we need Cat D funding for small business, but we also need a Taree CBD revitalisation package, including commercial building buybacks in the worst affected area of Pulteney Street. The flood recovery and rebuild will be a key focus of my time and energy, but I know my voice and that of this parliament and government is needed on so many other local issues, on roads and bridges and telecommunications, housing and health, community infrastructure, aged and disability care, industry and jobs, to name a few. We are not a wealthy electorate. We are older and poorer than most. Our major employers were lost to bean counters chasing cheap labour offshore. Bureaucracy in the digital world is too often a maze for so many locals that forever needs unscrambling. Our councils are battered by ageing infrastructure and the unfairness of the financial assistance grants formula. When we as nationals call for more funding, more programs, more support from government for our electorates, it's because our communities need it to survive, to thrive, to get a fair go. So my job in this parliament will be to work constructively with the government so that together we can solve problems Problems like ensuring the Dungog Shire Community Centre is properly funded by Services Australia to continue its important Centrelink service delivery and provide the resources, other services and infrastructure my communities need to improve living standards, to live with dignity, to grow, to be rich in spirit and diverse in activities. Today, I wish to start with one request, and one that aligns with the government's own priorities. Taree desperately needs an urgent care clinic. This was a commitment I made at the election, one left unmatched by Labor despite the many clinics it had committed to in other seats. An initiative the government has heralded, an initiative that does not exist between Coffs Harbour and Newcastle, a gaping hole in the network. In good faith, under the umbrella of the Prime Minister's commitment to govern for all, I asked for the government's goodwill to work with me to deliver one in Taree and help improve the health outcomes of people of the Manning Valley. This is my first ask, but far from my last. Mr Speaker, I'm immensely honoured to be put to work by the people of the Lyne electorate for them, to represent a part of Australia where I grew up, the beautiful Harrington and Hannon Vale, Taree, where I went to school at St Clair's High School, and call home now Timbertown, in Warhope, Timbertown, and all of the towns and villages that live proud in this part of the mid-north coast and Hunter. I thank the people of Lyne from the bottom of my heart for this tremendous honour, and through my election by them to be put to work for the people of Australia to contribute to the building of our nation. While our democracy is robust, our nation is not. Our productivity is weak, cost of living crippling families, pensioners and businesses, immigration and government spending out of control, our military capabilities mismatched to the threats to our shore, our foreign policy too often sounding like it was written in the uni bar, our country divided, one confused with three flags, not proudly one. We are pursuing a European energy policy at great cost to our nation, economically, environmentally and socially, with no return on addressing climate change. This policy is only making us weaker and poorer. Weaker because we're building a fragile energy grid, not a resilient and powerful one. Poorer because we've lost our comparative advantage in energy. The more renewables, the higher energy prices have become for all Australians, but hurting our poorest and most vulnerable the most. I'm no climate change denier. Like many Australians, just a climate change realist. For millennia, we as humans have faced the impact of the complex natural system of our climate. Our understanding of our impact on it has matured, and with that, so has the issue matured in our social and political psyche. It is for Australia to be part of the global response, but as a realist, I accept that we humans cannot fully control carbon and its impact on our climate, nor can Australia disproportionately bear the cost of the net zero global response. It is regional Australia that is bearing the full cost, bearing all of the risks of the transition and none of the benefits. This government is asking renewables to do the heavy lifting it simply wasn't designed to do, and we are asking Australians to pay the price for it. Just ask the people of Hawke's Nest in my electorate, staring down at an offshore industrial wind farm in the pristine waters off Port Stephens. Government has a huge responsibility to get this policy right, a policy that should try to mitigate what we can, sensibly, reasonably, proportionately, and adapt to what we can't, but critically that it is a policy that puts Australians first and that gives current and future generations the same economic liberties to increase their standard of living. Mr Speaker, what I see and fear now is an Australia where the pluckiness and pragmatism of our forefathers has vanished, replaced with a state-sanctioned retreat from the pursuit of real national wealth and prosperity, retreat from our history, retreat from our Christian values, retreat from common sense. We are going small and losing big. We are told disruption, now often the code for progressivism, is good for us. It's got a social licence, we're told. Sign on. Australia will be better for it. But are we? Beyond our structural, economic and strategic decline, it's clear our family and social structures are faltering. Our kids are spending on average 9 hours a day in front of a computer and TV screen. Literacy and numeracy rates are falling. Our kids are learning to criticise rather than think critically. The narcissism permitted and projected through social media is ruining lives and destroying families. Domestic violence rates are rising. We are trying to deny human nature, teaching our kids that you can choose your gender any day of the week or be a furry in the classroom. I've heard stories of young men and women choosing not to bring children into this world because of the fear of the world we're becoming. At a time of such regional and global geopolitical instability, Australia can ill afford to lose its way. We must change course. We must step up. This place must lead. Where can we start? Well, we must return to the values that have made Australia strong, those Christian values that so many of us have been raised on. If you don't believe in something, you'll fall for anything. We must reinvest in family and the family unit by pursuing policies that give families real choice in raising their children and help increase our natural birth rate. Income splitting is sensible, as is the concerted efforts of all tiers of government to genuinely address the housing crisis. Young Australians are locked into housing servitude, and we should not be surprised that they are angry at us for it. This is not the great Australian dream they deserve. We must address the social discord and the impact of identity politics, particularly on children. Reinstating the biological definition of male and female into the Sex Discrimination Act is needed. Gender is simply not fluid, even if sexual orientation is. We must break the cycle of multi-generational welfare dependency so every child has an adult role model in their life that values a day's work. We must get back to the basics on economic policy, efficient government, restraint from intergenerational economic theft, backing small business as the engine room of the economy, supporting policies that address Australia's falling manufacturing complexity and subsequent growth prospects. We must stop regulatory creep and over-regulation, the thinking that government knows how to do business better, which is insidious and pervasive on small business and industry. I'm sick and tired of all tiers of government making laws and policies based on the emotion driven by activists that ban industries, adds cost to business, stymies innovation and makes our exporters uncompetitive. In this frame, agriculture and farmers are too often the whipping boy for this government and the left. We must return to an immigration policy founded on Team Australia, not Hotel Australia, one where our shared values matter, the basis of our multicultural success story. We must build an energy system that can support the energy needs of industry and an AI data-hungry world. That requires lots and lots of energy density, baseload power, power that is on all the time, not just some of the time. If this government was to truly consider our energy policy on a net benefit basis, they too would support zero-emissions nuclear power, along with coal and gas, using existing technology to reduce emissions. Labor's version of net zero and its pursuit of it is not the right pathway for Australia to a cleaner, greener and more prosperous future. We must use military precision in our defence procurement to rebuild our defence capability. This is a dangerous time of greater power competition. The threats are real and they are unconventional, but we are no longer equipped to fight the enemy at our door. Our defence personnel and our veterans deserve the equipment that matches their skill, discipline and dedication, whatever the price for the sacrifice they make and the security Australians deserve. The defence of our nation should be a subject of great pride to every Australian. Yet, during the campaign, when I raised it at Meet the Candidate forums, those in the room supporting Labor, Green and Teal candidates sneered and scoffed. It was and is an outrageous response to the importance of the defence of our nation and the genuine security risk we face. It's why government leadership matters. Mr Speaker, I'm very proud to be here as a representative of the Nationals, a party I first came to support as a polling booth volunteer in my teenage years. We are not a party of ideologues, but pragmatists who believe strongly in the values our nation was founded on. We believe in the wisdom of the bush, that new ways shouldn't always usurp the old, and that the region should keep more of the nation's wealth it generates. In this place, we have always leveraged more than our numbers suggest, a record of achievement that is not done with yet. That said, I am here as only the second woman from the New South Wales Nationals to be elected to the House of Representatives in the history of this parliament, a statement that should horrify and shock. I follow in the footsteps of the great Kay Hull, former member for Riverina, who stood in this place from 1998 to 2010, a warrior for the regions then and now. Kay always spoke her mind and spoke up for her people. She's been a wonderful role model and mentor to me, and I thank her for her genuine support. I do not intend to use my time here as an evangelical warrior on female representation in politics. We as women should seek favour through a system that shines a light on the best talent in the room. But making sure women are in the room is still the great challenge. It is a challenge that requires genuine investment by our party membership and leadership, myself included. I would like to thank the party members and supporters from across the Lyne electorate for putting their faith in me after the long career of their much-respected and loved former member, Dr David Gillespie. Transitioning a seat is never an easy task or with a certain outcome. There are so many to thank, too many to do justice to in this speech, but several certainly stand out. David Gillespie, June Rose Richardson, Rob Connell, Rosemary Chick, Vicky Hanson, Carolyn Fowler, Sally Halliday, Kate and Steve Mansell. And to Bill Jones, who lost part of his finger helping my dad make A-frames. I would also like to thank the Federal Nationals and New South Wales Nationals leadership, Kay Hull and Federal Director Lincoln Follow, current Chairman of the New South Wales Nationals, the Honourable Rick Collis, and former Chairman Andrew Fraser, State Director Tori Mencelli, my bestie, and the team at head office. Tori is a relentless campaigner, generous with her time and support, and a smart head and steady hand. Your dad would be so immensely proud of you. All of the team were of tremendous assistance and support, and I extend my sincere gratitude to them. I have spent more than half of my professional life in this building, from my work experience with Mark Vaile in 1994 to my various roles as receptionist, whips clerk, advisor to Chief of Staff with the late Honourable Peter Reith, the Honourable Mark Vaile, the Honourable Warren Truss, the Honourable David Littleproud MP, the Honourable Kevin Hogan MP and the Honourable Dr David Gillespie. I've had the great honour of working in government and opposition. I've seen government at its best and at its worst. I've seen the political cycles of the Coalition and Labor come and go. I've learned so much from all of you, and thank you for the trust and opportunity you have given me. I would also like to acknowledge Wendy Vaile, Lynn Truss, Charlotte Gillespie and Karen Hogan. All amazing women, patient and forgiving. I thank you for your friendship, support and understanding when my job interrupted your lives. I thank my many former work colleagues who in some shape or form have been part of this 30-plus year apprenticeship. Too often this place speaks cruelly of the staff of MPs and ministers. The work of politics attracts magnificent minds who make huge sacrifices to work quietly, patiently, empathetically, diligently to do good for this nation. There is no public service medal for political and policy staff. The job is to walk in the shadows of the room, not to be nameless, just not to be named. To all of you who I've worked with over the years, I thank you for your camaraderie, your guidance and your common sense. I particularly want to pay tribute to some of them. Cheryl Cartwright and Kate Barwick, not only great friends but great campaigners too. I owe you both a huge debt of gratitude. And also to Andrew Hall, Candice Stour, Robert Nardella, Gary Van Dam, Jen Southwell, Bronwyn Morris, Lockie McComish and Philip Eliason. Outside of Parliament, I've shared in the privilege of working for business, big and small. There's been no greater challenge in my professional career than to take on the task of CEO of the live export industry just 6 months after the 2011 ban. I pay tribute to the two chairmen I worked under, Peter Kane and the late Honourable Simon Crean, and to Sam Brown, my CEO colleague at LiveCorp, all men of immense wisdom. I thank them for their courage and willingness to support me as I led the industry through significant change, including the development of a social licence strategy for the live export industry, the first of its kind of any agricultural industry sector at the time. The fact that Labor has chosen to cruel the livelihoods of thousands of sheep producers rather than properly regulate just 3 live export companies is a travesty of justice, made harsher by the ongoing refusal to compensate live cattle producers as the court has demanded. Mr Speaker, I do not come from a big family. I'm an only child and grew up essentially as an only grandchild. I will never have the privilege of being an aunt. I'm unmarried and childless by circumstance, not choice. So family has always been more than just blood relations. It's about those people in your life that are always there in good times and bad. To Tony and Vicky Hanson, you mean more to me than words can ever express. Thank you for your unwavering support, your love and generosity, and the beautiful gift of godmotherhood. To Andrew, here tonight, and Kate, Ashley and Tim, and their children, Lennox and Huxley, Buddy and my youngest goddaughter Scout, I'm so proud of all of you and so grateful to call you family. Scout, I can't wait to see your journey in life. Art, sport, whatever you decide, the world is yours. During the campaign, I lost my beloved Aunt Valerie, who died suddenly in a home on her 85th birthday. She was due to fly down to be part of the last week of the campaign. It is still hard to process this loss. My aunt was larger-than-life individual, never truly bound by societal expectations. A traveller, artist, gourmet home chef, linguist, raconteur, armchair political commentator. If only I can be as bold and brave as her, but I know she is there with her beloved husband, oh wise one, Uncle Barry, wheeling me on in this challenge to question the status quo and never, never take no for an answer. To my beautiful mum Aileen, who we lost to pancreatic cancer almost 12 years ago. You never get over the loss of a parent, and it's hard to reconcile the passage of time with the memories that are so near. My mother was a woman before her time. She had incredible strength and determination, a deep belief in fairness and justice. In another age, she would have been a Member of Parliament, and a fierce one at that. I intend to bring her fierceness to this place to honour her memory. Finally, to my dad Ron, my man of resolve. You are my hero and my North Star. You made huge sacrifices in your life, so I didn't have to make them in mine. I'm so proud of you. From poor beginnings, you've made such a rich life. Customs officer, tug master, entrepreneur, farmer, motorhome manufacturer, above all, a man of honour, a man everyone should have as a mate and a best friend. I'm so pleased that you have found Marie and are trying to live your best life, despite the fragility that hard work and age brings. Thank you for all you do and your patience with me. As I wind up my commentary here today, I say this to the people of the Lyne electorate and to all Australians. I intend to honour your faith, courage and determination to live your best lives by putting service to you before self. I can't promise you the world you deserve, but I'll guarantee to have a go at delivering it. With that, let's get cracking. Thank you.
Authorised by Alison Penfold, The Nationals, Taree.